If you're not failing, you're not pushing your limits. And if you're not pushing your limits, you're not maximizing your potential. I learned that if you work hard and creatively, you can have just about anything you want, but not everything you want. Maturity is the ability to reject good alternatives in order to pursue even better ones. Look for people who have lots of great questions. Smart people are the ones who ask the most thoughtful questions, as opposed to thinking they have all the answers. Great questions are a much better indicator of future success than great answers. It is far more common for people to allow ego to stand in the way of learning. Having the basics, a good bed to sleep in, good relationships, good food, and good sex, is most important. And those things don't get much better when you have a lot of money, or much worse, when you have less. And the people one meets at the top aren't necessarily more special than those one meets at the bottom or in between. The happiest people discover their own nature and match their life to it. Listening to uninformed people is worse than having no answers at all. Truth, more precisely, an accurate understanding of reality, is the essential foundation for producing good outcomes. Every time you confront something painful, you are at a potentially important juncture in your life. You have the opportunity to choose healthy and painful truth, or unhealthy but comfortable delusion. Pain plus reflection equals progress. If you can't successfully do something, don't think you can tell others how it should be done. I saw that to do exceptionally well, you have to push your limits, and that if you push your limits, you will crash and it will hurt a lot. You will think you have failed, but that won't be true unless you give up. Imagine that in order to have a great life, you have to cross a dangerous jungle. You can stay safe where you are and have an ordinary life, or you can risk crossing the jungle to have a terrific life. How would you approach that choice? Take a moment to think about it, because it is the sort of choice that, in one form or another, we all have to make. Because our educational system is hung up on precision, the art of being good at approximations is insufficiently valued. This impedes conceptual thinking. It is more important to do things well than to do the small things perfectly. The greatest gift you can give someone is the power to be successful. Giving people the opportunity to struggle rather than giving them the things they are struggling for will make them stronger. First principle: think for yourself to decide 1. What you want, 2. What is true, and 3. What you should do to achieve number 1 in light of number 2, and do that with humility and open-mindedness, so that you consider the best thinking available to you. Unattainable goals appeal to heroes. To be effective, you must not let your need to be right be more important than your need to find out what's true. If you are too proud of what you know or of how good you are at something, you will learn less, make inferior decisions, and fall short of your potential. I also feared boredom and mediocrity much more than I feared failure. For me, great is better than terrible, and terrible is better than mediocre, because terrible at least gives life flavor. Remember that the only purpose of money is to get you what you want. So think hard about what you value and put it above money. How much would you sell a good relationship for? There's not enough money in the world to get you to part with a valued relationship. The most valuable habit I've acquired is using pain to trigger quality reflections. If you can acquire this habit yourself, you will learn what causes your pain and what you can do about it, and it will have an enormous impact on your effectiveness. Remember that in great partnerships, consideration and generosity are more important than money. Remember that most people are happiest when they are improving and doing the things that suit them naturally and help them advance. So, learning about your people's weaknesses is just as valuable for them and for you as is learning their strengths. Time is like a river that carries us forward into encounters with reality that require us to make decisions. We can't stop our movement down this river, and we can't avoid those encounters. We can only approach them in the best possible way. Nature gave us pain as a messaging device to tell us that we are approaching, or that we have exceeded, our limits in some way. Meditate. I practice transcendental meditation and believe that it has enhanced my open-mindedness, higher level perspective, equanimity, and creativity. It helps slow things down so that I can act calmly even in the face of chaos, just like a ninja in a street fight. Principles are fundamental truths that serve as the foundation for behavior that gets you what you want out of life. They can be applied again and again in similar situations to help you achieve your goals. Thoughtful disagreement is not a battle. Its goal is not to convince the other party that he or she is wrong and you are right, but to find out what is true and what to do about it. Choose your habits well. Habit is probably the most powerful tool in your brain's toolbox. The people who work for you should constantly challenge you. When a problem occurs, conduct the discussion at two levels. 1. The machine level, why that outcome was produced. And 2. The case at hand level, what to do about it. The most important thing is that you develop your own principles and ideally write them down, especially if you are working with others. Managers who do not understand people's different thinking styles cannot understand how the people working for them will handle different situations. Because most people are more emotional than logical, they tend to overreact to short-term results. They give up and sell low when times are bad, and buy too high when times are good. Wise people stick with sound fundamentals through the ups and downs, while flighty people react emotionally to how things feel, jumping into things when they're hot and abandoning them when they're not. Having nothing to hide relieves stress and builds trust. Never say anything about someone that you wouldn't say to them directly, and don't try people without accusing them to their faces. While I used to get angry and frustrated at people because of the choices they made, I came to realize that they weren't intentionally acting in a way that seemed counterproductive. They were just living out things as they saw them, based on how their brains worked. What you will be will depend on the perspective you have. The pain of problems is a call to find solutions, rather than a reason for unhappiness and inaction. So it's silly, pointless, and harmful to be upset at the problems and choices that come at you, though it's understandable. Find the most believable people possible who disagree with you, and try to understand their reasoning. Having open-minded conversations with believable people who disagree with you is the quickest way to get an education and to increase your probability of being right.